Welcome back to Asia Prime. Now, the Meteorology, Climatology, and Geophysics Agency, or the BMKG, stated that the development of weather conditions throughout Indonesia indicated that there will be an increase in rainfall in several areas across the country. Now, based on the La Nina incident in 2020, the results of the BMKG study show that rainfall has increased in November, December, and January. Some areas that must be vigilant are Java, Bali to NTT, and then southern Sumatra, southern Kalimantan to southern Sulawesi. According to the BMKG, La Nina this year is predicted to be relatively the same and will have an impact on an increase in monthly rainfall ranging from 20 to 70% above normal. Well, natural disasters are happening all around us, and this is no longer a fantasy story. Now, we need to act more so we can make a peace with nature, but the question is it already too late? And joining us on Asia Prime discussing this topic, Mas Muhammad Habib, a researcher from the Disaster Management Research Unit of the CSIS. Selamat malam, Mas Muhammad Habib. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me, Mas Krishna.
Okay, so first of all, we want to sort of explain to our viewers, maybe those who don't have explicit knowledge on La Nina. Can you explain to our viewers what exactly is La Nina and how does it impact Indonesia specifically?
Yeah, so basically, I think if I can simplify the term, La Nina itself is basically when warmer air, goes more and more to Asia region. From the west coast of America, definitely. And then the very concrete impact that we are going to suffer is the increased rainfall across all regions in Indonesia, I'm sure.
Okay, now, of course, as we mentioned earlier, in 2020, we also felt the impacts of La Nina. If you compare it to last year and also this year now, do you think the impacts will be more, especially considering climate change and so forth, or will it be the same kind of impact as last year?
Right, thank you so much. So over the past couple of years, indeed, we witnessed how climate change contributes to the general increase of rainfall across regions in Indonesia, as you mentioned, definitely. Took Jakarta as an example. At the beginning of last year, I still remember, we still remember, right, that the capital recorded the highest rainfall in the past 2 decades, like around 370 millimeter per day, and in particular in East Jakarta. And in the previous years, when we compare it, it was only ranged between 100 to 300 millimeter per day. And outside of Jakarta, according to Indonesia's disaster risk index, almost 400 out of 514 total cities and regencies are prone to floods. So basically, yes, the La Nina phenomenon, as we speak right now, I think is going to worsen and worsen across, along the years. If we do not have, proper mitigation. And the problem always begins when we start blaming the nature as the sole cause of these disasters, saying that it's beyond our capacity or we couldn't have prevented that. No, it's not. I think that with the current state of science and also technology, we have 1,000 ways to handle it. If we have constant concern about this matter, not only during the La Nina phenomenon itself, but before that and also after that, if we learn something from that. And unfortunately, this constant political attention is a privilege that we could not afford somehow. According to CSIS research, the absence of political commitment ranks at the top of contributing factors to problems surrounding Indonesia's disaster management. And political commitment here, including commitment to prevent deforestation and land conversion as we speak at the at the upstream level, because we know that that is one of the root causes, the long-standing root causes causing the flood itself.
Right, so you're saying that land conversion and, of course, perhaps maybe development projects are some of the top causes. But of course, Indonesia has to develop. They have to build. It's a developing nation. But do you think that the Indonesian government, or has there been kind of an equal attention on the environment but also with developments happening in Indonesia, or do you think there has not been enough attention on sort of mitigating disasters from impacts such as La Nina?
Right. You mentioned correctly, Mas, about the lack of attention somehow in Indonesia to disaster management. Over the years, we have experienced, a lot of disasters ranging from earthquake to, cyclone Saroja, for example, in this year. I mean, like in TP, for example, and still we haven't really learned about what to improve and so on and so forth. And definitely, if you ask me whether we could have prevented like those events, we could, and whether we could anticipate a La Nina phenomenon, the impacts of La Nina phenomenon, yes, definitely we could. I mean, like the local government should have taken early warning information from BMKG and also BMPB more seriously by allocating, for example, more funding for disaster management, because what we witness here, I mean, local regions do not allocate, enough funding for disaster management agency. Somehow, because of what? Because of, for example, this year and also last year, COVID-19 pandemic, they reallocated budget for disaster management. But beforehand, the budget for disaster management already no insufficient somehow. It's below like 2% of the, for example, APBD or APBN, like for example, the national budget, and we really need to consider about elevating that amount of budget, and then hiring personnel, preparing shelters beforehand, evaluating the availability of the equipment, such as, for example, inflatable boats, when we talk about floods, mobile water pumps, and excavator, and so on and so forth. And the fact that, we haven't really concerned about that.
Okay. Now, you are talking about when the disaster actually happens and the funding needed to kind of help people when the disaster happens. But how about preventing it? For example, a land conversion. What can the people, communities, or even regional governments do to maybe stop the effects from being too high? When La Nina happens.
Right. Prevention, I mean, like, we need definitely all hands on deck approach to prevent the consequences by the disasters. And I already mentioned about those ways, like including strengthening the enforcement of regulation itself. We already had the Disaster Management Act number 24/2007. And it regulates a lot of things, including disaster prevention. But knowing the fact that the government, doesn't really take seriously about this matter, including about the amendment process. Currently, our Disaster Management Act is being revised right now, but not concluded yet. I'm really looking forward, to the conclusion of this amendment, because the amendment will provide important steps for us to enhance our preparedness, including how do we mobilize resources, available resources, for example, from private sectors and also military, and enhance the coordination between the central government and also local government. And at the same time, I think people also need to be more vigilant about the extreme weather events surrounding them, including installing mobile application. We know that BNPB and also BMKG have already had created one. Like, for example, in INRIS and also in Info BMKG, both of them are very critical if we want to know about disasters surrounding us. Ensuring all important documents stored in safe place, preparing disaster-ready bag, and assessing whether there is a need to evacuate immediately or not. People also always have the chance to sue the government whenever they think that the government hasn't done enough. We have already witnessed class suit actions.
Okay.
Last year and also this year. I mean, suing the local government of Jakarta and also the central government about not doing enough in addressing air pollution in the capital, right?
Okay.
And also NGOs, media, scientists, and also private sectors need to top potential areas of cooperation to assist the government.
All right, so there needs to be more attention from the government. Also, the Indonesian people, the public also have to be more vigilant. And we're hoping for the best. Hopefully the impact will not be as bad as predicted. Mas Muhammad Habib, researcher from Disaster Management Research Unit of CSIS, thank you so much for your time.